Welcome to Campaigns and Coffee. Grab your mug and let's dive into tales of adventure and the answers to your quirkiest of questions. So, lately, I've been running ShadowDark for whoever shows up, Josh and Aaron being some of those people who have shown up. It's my goal to just game more. So, on Sundays, I just invite a whole bunch of people, and whoever shows up, we play a game. The last few times has been ShadowDark, and I was wanting us to talk about it. What do you guys think of ShadowDark so far? What are your impressions?
I think it's a very relaxed game, is kind of what I would go with.
That's an odd take considering the torch timer.
I was going to say, it's a very, I guess, more intense game than that's why I was like, really relaxing. I'm like terrified that the torch is going to run out every second. I'm just staring at the timer.
Usually thinking, I don't have to like role play as much, I guess, is kind of where I would go with that.
Okay.
Like, I don't have to have a deep character story or really consider how I'm crafting my answers, and there's less writing involved, I guess, is where you would go with this.
Okay.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, and just to give some more context, we're all learning ShadowDark and learning the rules. I've added in there a Foundry VTT has a nice setup for mapping and such like that. So we're all learning Foundry as well. I'm putting it up on the big TV in the living room so that everybody can see things, and I'm the one controlling all the movement at the moment. So yeah, it is full of role playing right now, and I think the first few games have been something that we could move into more role playing, and I'd like to see that because those are more fun games for me. I do like war gaming and miniatures gaming and such like that, but when I'm sitting down for a role playing game, I want to lean more toward the role playing and less toward the individual turn stuff. So
it's a very, I want to say, fast paced because you're not functioning on on a game time per se. You're focused on everything runs like real time. So you've got 60 minutes of real time before your torch runs out and stuff like that. So it doesn't leave a whole lot of time for, okay, here's the plan going into this room. Let's talk about this for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's go into this room. We'll make up the plan on the fly. Go.
Yeah, it does put an urgency on certain things and keeps things going. And it's fine to go off and make that plan for 20 minutes, but you just have to be aware that torch timer is running out.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of things that in Foundry, it allows you to put torch timers on. And so in the module, we're actually running, I printed them out. This is the Game Master Quick Start Guide, but we're actually running the Lost Citadel of the Scarlet Minotaur, which is the quick start module, and that's all set up in Foundry. And so dynamic lighting is already set up and everything. So as people are moving around and the people with the torches are moving one way and other people are maybe moving another, suddenly those people are in the darkness, and that's bad. And yeah, so it's been very different for me in terms of that, but I do enjoy the dungeon delving sort of aspect of it. Like it's very focused on that with what we've played so far. I know there's wilderness rules and things like that, but we haven't gotten into those.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. You could set an entire campaign in here. If when you are delving into dungeons, like that's one of the complaints that some people have had about like 5th edition is there's less dungeon delving in Dungeons and Dragons. Like the very first word in Dungeons and Dragons is dungeons, and there's not so many in 5th edition. And so ShadowDark, that was part of what they were talking about, or what Kelsey, I think, was intending, was to get more into the dungeons like she played when she was younger. That they don't have as much in 5th edition.
I've actually kind of heard something similar where older D&D was based around you were supposed to have a lot more encounters between long rests than you do currently. Now it's like, we've been in one fight, let's take an 8-hour sleep now.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of very low level D&D play. Like like from my experience, either basic or first edition Dungeons and Dragons, because the wizard had one whole spell and it was either sleep or magic missile. And you'd use that and it's like, okay, the wizard's out. Then they only have like 3 hit points. So let's go back to town or let's go camp somewhere and rest so that we have that spell again. And then, of course, because of the way the game was set, if that wizard made it to high level, they were way outdoing damage of, and outclassing a lot of the other classes, which was usually made up for with magic items for those other classes. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like ShadowDark is a lot grittier and more faster. It pushes a faster pace than
yeah. It pushes less downtime than, and I'm sure that there are ways. We were kind of crunched because we were also looking up rules and such.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'd pause the torch timer, but a lot of times I wouldn't, because I made a physical torch that ran for 60 minutes, and every 20 minutes it would change how the visual of the torch looked, and it was sitting in the middle of the table. And I think, Josh, you mentioned that you were just like staring at that, like looking to see if it changed from like the solid to the kind of breathing, and then the flickering, and the flickering being the last 20 minutes. Is like, how much of that last 20 minutes do we have left?
Yep.
Yeah,
see, I never felt any anxiety about that torch at all, because, well, I was the wizard, so I had a light spell too.
Timers give me anxiety. Not necessarily in a bad way, but if there's a timer, I'm probably staring at that most of the time. But then again, if there's me playing, my attention is only on that. I lose track of all the conversation if there's a moving picture somewhere.
David's the same way.
Maybe it's my just ADD.
Yeah. I'm trying to find, there's a few, now that I'm looking, there's a few ShadowDark torches that are online. We have a little short about one, but it's just a web page where you can start a torch and it slowly burns down.
That's great.
And I think I'm going to use one of those in the next session. And it'd be great if it synced up with Foundry VTT, because I could start it in Foundry, but you would actually see the torch and it would start to burn down.
Oh, that'd be
in that sense. That would be kind of cool.
But yeah, no, I love the game because it's a little bit grittier, and I do, as much as I'm like, okay, guys, we gotta go. I actually like the, hey, guys, we gotta go, because I feel like a lot of times you can get into the, okay, let's plan something for an hour and a half so that when we walk into a room, the plan immediately goes crazy and we lose it right away, and wasted an hour and a half of just standing around talking, basically.
Yeah, so Aaron, how do you feel about that? Because you like the hour and a half planning sometimes.
Well, I like to make sure everything goes according to my plan, and I like to have that meticulous plan and do that setup. But I'm all right with this, because I also feel, I guess this is why I said I feel relaxed, because I no longer have to do that. There is no way to really overplan this. So in a way, I guess that's why I said it was a relaxing game, because there's no plan. You just do things.
So how does this compare to when you played Scum and Villainy, where you retroactively planned, where you weren't, like, almost no plan was done, just the approach? You didn't like that one as much.
No, I don't know. I guess I also find that kind of like, I don't know how to retroactively plan. That short circuits my head just by the way that you're watching me stammer through this answer.
Yeah, with the flashbacks and such.
That actually kind of confuses me.
You have to metagame in Scum and Villainy, which is weird.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh man, the guard's coming around the corner. They're going to catch us. Hey, can I call for a flashback where I met that guard and we talked to him and we're friends and we bribed him, and then you find out if the bribe worked, sort of thing. Yeah, it is a different way of playing in that game. It feels more like a heist, but everybody's kind of in on the twists of the heist. Whereas in a heist movie, the audience is not in on the twist until the twist is revealed. So yeah, there is a pretty big difference there.
That just that game style confuses me, is what I would say. I just feel very confused by it.
Yep. So we've been playing, as I said, the quick start, and I printed out. I highly suggest, like, if you're going to start this, you don't even need ShadowDark itself, although I did reference the rules a bunch. But this game is rulings, not rules. So if it's not covered in the quick start, just make a ruling on the spot and keep going, and then maybe talk about it afterward if people disagree with the ruling. But I highly suggest printing out, if you can, the quick start and then giving everybody the player quick start guide. Like, have a couple copies out there, because I realized as we were playing that people were flipping through them and looking at it and looking at different sections of them. And since people didn't have their devices in front of them, they couldn't like look it up on the PDF as easily and things like that. So that I definitely recommend that. And then I kind of ran it initially like a con game. So we'd have the pre-printed characters of Iraga Dragul. So this is who's this one? I don't remember who this is. Iraga you, Josh? Who is Iraga? I'm trying to remember the half-orc priest here.
No, I wasn't a priest. That may have been
okay.
That may have been Steph.
May have been Stephanie. Yeah. So, but the pre-gens are pretty cool. They've got decent stats and things like that. The one thing that I found interesting was no one's died yet. And I'm wondering if that's because...
Are you hoping?
I'm pulling back a little, or if that is just because they've been rolling really well. Because like they went through initially on the first game. Initially, they came in through the side entrance of this thing, and toward the end of the session, met the Minotaur and had I'm not going to give away spoilers, but had made some allies, and the allies took the brunt of the damage. Like the first ally that ran up, the Minotaur just cut in half with an axe with one blow. And because if you at first level get hit, you're just going to die from that Minotaur. One of the things I did do, though, to give them a bit more of a chance of survival was I let them level up in the middle of the dungeon. So once you had enough treasure and had done some other things that were XP based, I let people level up to second level, and that gave them a little bit more hit points.
That's another thing. Encumbrance is a big thing in this, too.
Yes.
There'll be so much stuff.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because normally coin weight and everything like that is one of the first things that you ignore. Dungeons and Dragons, like, no, carry as much stuff as you want. Coins don't weigh anything. Money is...
You're walking away with a giant semi-truck behind you. It's all right.
Yeah. 18 weapons in your backpack.
No.
Yeah. And how do you feel about how Encumbrance is implemented in this, where it's got slots? So a sword is one of your slots, or I think it's like 50 or 500 gold. That's one of the things that we kind of did a ruling during it, and I still haven't had a chance to look it up. It's like how much gold takes up one slot, because you can't carry around 1 million gold for one slot.
I really don't like it because I have like no strength, so I can't carry like anything.
Yeah, the wizard
in Fallout that collects all the plates and bowls and forks and stuff like that, because I'm like, I'm going to trade it and make some money off of it later.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Fallout, I inevitably take all the perks that allow me to move and fast travel while over encumbered. And then I'll drop it all off at the settlement in Fallout 4 and then go back out.
Yeah. But so being the hoarder that I am in games, this gives me the anxiousness. It gives me the angers and the...
Do I take the cool looking rock, or do I take this old, old goblet? Which one? I have to drop something.
I think I asked like maybe 4 or 5 times, does anybody have room for this?
Yes, and I liked that. That was kind of cool that people were like, hey, I want to pick this up, but I don't have the space. Like, I'm looking at Aaron's character, Krieg Greythorn. The minimum...
Zero space.
The minimum number of slots that you have is 10 slots for gear. And the standard adventurers kit sort of thing that you pick up or these characters get is like 7 of those slots or more. In fact, Erin, this character started with all 10 slots full and had to give away the mirror that she was carrying so she could pick up a piece of treasure. Luckily has switched out a torch for a lantern, and an oil flask for that lantern also takes up a slot. So yeah, it's I like it, but because it's not too much bookkeeping, but it still gives you that encumbrance of let's take the whole dungeon and put it in our backpack.
And it does give you that kind of realistic, you know what, I can't, drag a truck or an airplane behind me, right? So if I do want that nice sparkly treasure that's going to help me level up and get me some money to do the next dive, then you know what, I'm just going to have to sacrifice something else and maybe I come back and pick it up.
Yeah. I find it also encourages okay, we're all full of stuff. Let's get the best of the stuff. Let's head back to town, sell off the stuff, get some new gear, and then come back to the same dungeon. You can't finish the dungeon in one go.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's very dangerous to rest in the dungeon. So it's one of those things where, like in this last session that we played, Erin unfortunately rolled badly on several of her spells rolls, and it's like, nope. Because the way the spells work in ShadowDark is when you cast them, they don't go away, but you roll for each spell you cast. You can succeed. Don't remember. I think you can critically succeed, but you can also fail, in which case you lose the spell until you rest, or you can critically fail, and that's bad and hasn't happened yet. And I'm interested to see what happens there. Bad things can happen. It's not as bad as like
interested to see it.
The wild magic table, but yeah.
So I was like, what, do you lose the spell forever, or it just goes awry?
It goes awry. You can end up casting it centered on yourself or at somebody else, or there's about 6 or 12 different like possible spell effects sort of thing.
I want to
Not
see
like the
you
huge
critically fail the light spell just to see what happens.
Yeah. But yeah, anytime you fail, you lose the spell until you rest again.
Yep.
So,
and I will say one of the other fun and kind of interesting parts about this is like when we were playing, we had 3 different people that decided to like light a torch or use a lantern or use the light spell. And then we had Stephanie who was like, I'm just going to walk off into the darkness on my own.
Yep. I was being a little kind to her on that particular one because that was the first game with her in ShadowDark. I think if it's going to happen again, plus there was a bunch of other stuff also going on.
Yeah.
But I think if it happens again, there might be something there to meet her.
So I was like, all of us were like, hey, you may want to come back with the group. She's like, nah, I'm good. You guys fight those things. I'm just going to be over here placing my hand on a wall, trying to find my way.
Yeah.
And she was the safest out of all of us.
Which is the ironic part. We're in a for our lives, and she's just walking around in the darkness.
Yeah, that battle, there are ways that you could have like talked about it and such, and maybe bartered with them or other things like that with that group. I think you were the one, Josh, that just immediately just went, hey, you're hiding in the shadows, you must die. And then it ran off to get its friends.
That's also one of the things that I'm liking about it is that there's not a whole lot of complicated scenario or I guess plot lining. It's go in, steal stuff and leave, that's it. So it makes it kind of easier, I guess.
And maybe it's the simplicity of the plot is like, hey, there's a dungeon. You want treasure, right? Go in the dungeon, get treasure.
Get the treasure, yeah. And that can make for a good Sunday afternoon with friends because now you don't have to like concern yourself too much about, what's the implications of this or is there any lasting consequences? It's just go and get treasure. Okay.
And I feel like it's one of those things where it makes it easy for people to jump in for a session or two. And if you miss a session or two, well, you just jump in to go get more treasure and If you're only there for one time, then hey, you're just a merc that's just in town, and it's super easy to just pull them in and go.
Yep.
It's not like,
And
here's a complicated story we have to explain to you to get you up to speed.
Yeah.
yep. And in most role-playing games, it doesn't have to be that way all the time. That's certainly the way we've been playing it. I think if we continue to play it time after time, I think things will grow and change. There may be some more complicated plot lines and such like that, but I think at that point, you guys will have created your own characters, not necessarily had these pre-gens. But yeah, I do like that there is a reason to go into the dungeons, and combat experience doesn't exist. You know, you don't get XP for combat. One sec. So yeah, I enjoy it. The dogs.
The dogs
Yes.
enjoy it too.
The dogs enjoy it too. Actually, they do kind of enjoy it because everybody's in the living room and they get to sit there and get pet. Yeah, so I think we'll kind of end it here. We do have a question from a future Overlord, which is, how do I ensure my rise to power includes a solid healthcare plan for my minions and a sustainable approach to dungeon maintenance?
Do Overlords have medical plans? I think the medical plan is do it or I kill you, and you don't have to worry about a medical plan.
Yeah, but if you have a good medical plan, you can really get better henchmen and better minions because they want to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying they're good overlords, but they're better overlords, if you know that distinction. But if any of you out there have suggestions for how to get a solid healthcare plan and, you know, the sustainable approach to dungeon maintenance, that could be a whole topic in and of itself. So either of those things, feel free to reach out, put in some comments on this video, come on over to layerseekers.com and send out a comment there. Pretty soon we'll be on moonbeam.stream, so we'll see how that goes as well. But other than that, have a great day.